All right, everybody. Welcome to the Jungle Quick Emergency Podcast. Here again, we're brought to you by the Riverfront and the Blue Wire. Owen and Caroline Palmer here for a quick episode because we tell you at the end of every single of our weekly episodes that we'll be back for news and notes as it happens. And boy, did we have a doozy for you here today on a Tuesday afternoon. Reports came out today, and official now via Cincinnati Bengals in a news release that they are trading a fifth-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for a sixth-round pick and quarterback Joe Flacco,
Oh.
who is presumably going to be the next Bengals starter until Joe Burrow comes back, whether that's this year or next year. Joe Flacco is now QB1 for the Cincinnati Bengals, is not a sentence 9-year-old me thought he would ever say,
Yeah, it
especially
definitely
in the year
wasn't
2025.
it definitely was not on my bingo card either. I mean, I have been preaching for the last 2 weeks that they needed to make a change at quarterback.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not necessarily maybe the exact person I wanted, but I think this is honestly I mean, this could be very good for the Bengals. I think anything was better than Jake Browning at this point, and it
Mm-hmm.
kind of gives a, like, vamped, like, new energy to the locker room that especially that offensive side of the ball definitely needs right now. And I think it'll be exciting to see how they respond to that this coming week.
Yeah, so we alluded to it yesterday. We kind of thought the Jake Browning experiment was coming to a close, and you feel for Jake. He had such a good run in 2023, but it just was not happening this year. He was just missing reads. He was not making the same throws that he was, and it kind of seemed like the magic slipper was on, and that the clock had struck midnight for Jake Browning. You're right. The Bengals needed to make some sort of move, whether that was starting Brett Rypien or Sean Clifford that are on the team now. The writing was kind of on the wall when they cut ties with quarterback Mike White today and realized that this was potentially an opportunity to bring Flacco into Cincinnati. So I think a lot of things are interesting about this. There's a lot of people who dislike this for obvious reasons. Flacco was not good this year already. He got benched for Dylan Gabriel, and my favorite Twitter account is Gridiron Grading, and this was a stat that really stuck out to me, which shows both the good and the bad potentially of this move. And it's by EPA, which is expected points added per play, which is basically how much a single play increases or decreases a team's expected points per
Mhm.
play, depending on down, field position, etc. Flacco was 32 out of 33 qualified quarterbacks. Number 33 was Jake Browning. So there is an improvement, I guess, in that. But when Flacco has a clean pocket or is held upright, he's middle of the pack in that statistic, which would then, if the Bengals can find a way to give him some sort of protection, that instantly impacts how the Bengals offense has been so stagnant over these last 2 weeks. And if we get the Flacco that's middle of the pack, we're looking at now potentially winning some ball games down the other line. We said yesterday that there's maybe only 3 winnable games. If this team looks at least a little more of like a machine, that might change.
Yeah, honestly, I was saying this to you off pod. Obviously, I understand the cons of this whole situation when you're looking at it from a general standpoint. They call him geriatric Joe Flacco, sleepy Joe Flacco. Like, I get it. He's an older quarterback. I've seen everything under the sun thrown out about him. But the one thing that I really like that I think Joe Flacco brings that even realistically Joe Burrow never really has is for his career, Joe Flacco has been really good at reading other teams. He has the experience, he has the composure. He's a
Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP. Was that 12 years ago? Yes, but he still has he has really good what I like to call football IQ. Like he is a very smart quarterback. And granted, he hasn't been really put in a place to succeed, but when he had good games with Indianapolis, they were good games. But when they were
Mhm.
bad games with Indianapolis and what we've seen for the most part so far with Cleveland, which I'd argue Cleveland was prepping Gabriel to start anyway. Um,
Mhm.
we had that situation going on. So obviously, people are going around saying, "Oh, he was benched for Dylan Gabriel." Stefanski kind of made it clear from the beginning that Dylan Gabriel was what they wanted, and they were starting a veteran to begin with
Yeah.
to kind of like watch him. So I'm not surprised that Dylan Gabriel is the starter, like at all. Like it was kind of what they were doing in New York with Jackson Dart. But I think it's a very interesting situation because it brings a different level of composure. And I think we'll see a little bit more success from T. Higgins and Jamar Chase in return. And I honestly think almost instantly you will see both of them become more involved and having the ability to get both of them involved in the game instead of just Jamar Chase. I think you'll have a much better chance of that happening with a guy like Joe Flacco at quarterback than we've seen with Jake Browning.
You sure hope so. You just feel like at the end of the day, it comes down to the Bengals. It wasn't working. Jake
No.
Browning was not working this year, and they needed to do something, or it was if they didn't do anything, it was very obvious that they were just going to punt on this season. What we talked about is that the AFC is wide open. I
Yeah.
think I told you that I don't think they make this move. Maybe reports came out, Ian Rappaport said that they've been calling around for the last 48 hours. I don't know if they make this move if Kansas City wins yesterday. Because then they're 3-2 and they're onward and upward. At some points they looked incredible last night. The AFC is wide open.
It's like very interesting given that in my personal opinion, the AFC as a division is much more talented than the NFC is. And it's like and the NFL has gotten turned on its head in the last 2 weeks. And it's a very interesting spectacle to see, which is why I've been so vocal about making a change at quarterback, because if you're gonna do it, you have to strike now before the panic and the midseason, whatever a couple of these teams are going through. You have a division rival whose literal offensive like centerpiece is out. Like you have to strike now when the opportunity is there. You can't wait for 3 weeks until some of these teams get whatever their issues are back under control. I think this is the right move. I also think this is a season-saving move potentially. I definitely think it's a job-saving move potentially for Zach Taylor. And
Yeah,
also,
I don't know.
this to me seems like they're thinking Joe Burrow could be back in time for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about too. We were like, if Flacco can put the string together some wins, I guess you probably also don't make this move if you don't think Burrow has a shot at coming back. Apparently his rehab's going well from what guys on the Bengals have been saying. A couple of things that stand out to me. I wrote down kind of all my thoughts mixed in with all the statistics. Number one, Diana Rossini came out and said that the Bengals discussed various different options for QB internally, and they never called the Giants about either Russell Wilson or
I saw
Jameis
that too.
Winston, which I think is interesting because then that brings up the question: who are they talking to? Atlanta?
Yeah.
Or are they talking to like Kirk was probably, in my opinion, the best quarterback option that the Bengals could have traded for. But the problem with him is that he comes with all that contract attached to it.
He
And I'm
comes with the cap
sure
stuff.
a big cap hit, and the Bengals probably wanted Atlanta to cover most of that, rightfully so. So then I guess we come down to Malik Willis, who that would have been dumb. That would have been a lateral move, I feel like. I still think in some ways Joe Flacco was probably a lateral move, but at the end of the day, it's kind of fun. They did something better than nothing.
Yeah.
It kind of instantly makes the Bengals hopefully a little watchable. Like people in the national media were talking like, oh my goodness, it's going to be this terrible. The Bengals are on prime time a couple more times. They have the terrible Thursday Thanksgiving night game. At least the Bengals maybe have some sort of storyline connected to them now, because it's honestly kind of hilarious that Joe Flacco is their quarterback. But let's get into this another more serious part. The most important thing in all of this is, regardless of how Joe Flacco works or regardless of what he does, what is the situation that he is going to be put in? How is Zach Taylor and the coaching staff going to adapt to him? Because they didn't do it to Jake Browning. How are they going to do it to Flacco? Because regardless of what talent happens, and we saw it last year with Burrow, he was so good, the Bengals still missed the playoffs, and a lot of it was on coaching and scheme. How is that going to change for this quarterback? I ask you that because I don't know. I want to know what your thoughts are, but I think that's the biggest overarching thing is, how is Zach Taylor and this Bengals coaching staff going to respond? Because if they come out and roll the same offense out there for Joe Flacco as they would for Joe Burrow, it's not going to work.
I don't think so either. And honestly, given the skill set that Joe Flacco has, I think they won't, because I think the possibilities of just your different options, like your screens, short routes, deep balls. I think there's a little bit more potential with Joe Flacco in there than you did with Jake Browning. So I think you have more availability to be a little bit more creative. And now, like, I think a big problem is Browning was finding Jamar Chase, but he wasn't really finding anyone else. Like,
Mhm.
Joe Flacco knows how to spread the ball around, played like that on almost every single team he's been on, and he has 2 elite wide receivers on his team.
Yeah.
Like, you have a guy like that who knows how to play with elite talent, that makes me excited. Whether that is knows how to distribute, knows how to make sure the one guy gets isolated in coverage. Like, it's going to be a very interesting dynamic that's going to be different. And I think they need to allow Flacco to have a little bit more like power in play calling because he's there, he can see it. Like, I think, I mean, obviously, like in terms of everything else, I think the only thing that scares me, and when you talk about scheme and setting Joe Flacco up for failure, the only thing that scares me, and it goes back to what you said at the very beginning, is when Joe Flacco has a clean pocket and when he's standing up straight. Right now, I do not trust the Bengals offensive line to do that for him. I'm sorry. Like, I just the way they play this year, I do not trust them to do that. I think the offensive line needs to get their butts in gear before we can think about any type of scheme
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Joe Flacco because if they can't get their act together, he's just going to keep getting sacked the way that Joe Burrow is getting sacked. And he's not as mobile as Joe Burrow. He is not as mobile as Jake Browning. So if this offensive line can't figure out something, we're just going to see a repeat of everything, except there's no scrambling quarterback this time because Joe Flacco's not as mobile.
Yeah, I agree. I think this move comes with a lot of question marks. I think a lot of the question marks come on, yes, Joe Flacco was benched this year. Yes, he underperformed this year. Yes, he throws a lot of picks. Yes, he's old. So it's like, yeah, like this. I saw a funny tweet, Mo Egger, Cincinnati radio personality. You said, well, I guess there wasn't any middle of the road all pro quarterbacks available. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, like, yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's just,
Russell Wilson was sitting there, but
no, but that wouldn't have worked. I
no,
don't
I
think
don't
it
think
would
it
have
would have
worked.
either.
I think
I
it would
just
have been
think,
weird.
yeah, the only, I mean, I obviously think Jameis would have been a good fit. I also agree with you that I think Kirk Cousins would have been a really good option as well. But I think the cap reason, given that the Bengals are paying 4 players on their team, most of their salary cap, really don't
Mhm.
think they had the space to even go for Kirk Cousins, even if they wanted to. I'm trying to just think of anybody else around the league who
Yeah, I
potentially they
couldn't.
reach out to, and I can't really think of anything because I was like, maybe they would have gone for a Carson Wentz if JJ McCarthy was still starting for Minnesota. Like, who knows? Like, I feel
Yeah,
like that would have been an
you're right.
interesting pick too.
That probably would have been maybe the if that was an option, yeah, that probably is it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I would have been interested to see if they would have gone after Wentz if McCarthy was still playing.
And that
Like,
would have
I
been
would have been
interesting.
really intrigued on that side of it, but
Yeah.
obviously he's playing, he beat the Bengals. I think it'll be interesting to see Joe Flacco play against some of these teams that he's played for very recently. Obviously, you're gonna get another shot at the Browns. He has experience playing against the Steelers, has experience playing with
Yeah, just
John
a little
Harbaugh,
bit.
has an
Yeah.
experience of playing with John Harbaugh's Ravens, which John
Yeah.
Harbaugh seems to be doing the exact same thing that he did with them 12 years ago, just with
Yeah.
Lamar. So it's very interesting to see because I don't know. Like, I really like, I don't wanna jump on it, and I know I'm trying to be optimistic here because there's been not a lot of
Well,
things to be optimistic about, but I really think this is a coin toss. And that's what's
yeah,
like it almost
it
puts you
is.
on the edge of your seat because you don't know which if
No.
it's gonna be, like, good or bad, which is honestly, like, it makes you intrigued to watch next week to see what happens. Like, I feel like this will be probably the most watched Bengals game so far because people wanna see
Yeah.
how Joe Flacco does.
And that's kinda what I was coming from, is like, at least now it's a storyline, you can get up for
Yeah.
it. I think Flacco is at least serviceable. I mean, we might eat our words again. We sat here after the Jacksonville game and we're like, Jake Browning's a superhuman and he's the best backup quarterback in the league. And now he might be out of a job. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably is out for a job. The Bengals have already said that they want Joe Flacco to be ready for Sunday. So it's like you had to make this move today. They did. The Bengals don't make trades. They did. Here's some other fun storylines that come from this. Jamar Chase is probably instantly the best receiver Joe Flacco's ever had on his team
Yep.
already, and he's not even played a snap for the Bengals. The other aspect of this, too, is the Bengals have never had a Super Bowl winning quarterback play for their team. That is
Yeah.
now been smashed. No player
Yeah.
has ever played for the Bengals, the Browns, and the Ravens. That
Joe
is now
Flacco now
changed,
has.
except for Joe Flacco. This will end up happening. And this is the first trade between the Browns and the Bengals since Cleveland returned to the NFL in 1999. This
Oh.
almost I'll give you I'll give you a high five if you can have any idea what this trade is. I'm going to tee it up for you. It almost occurred in 2017. The Bengals were going to
Mm.
trade us. You're not allowed to look it up. I'm looking at you. Look it up right now.
No,
The Bengals
okay,
the
go.
Bengals almost traded this player to the Browns, but for the trade deadline, but the Browns did not file the paperwork in time,
Of
making the
course they
trade
didn't.
null. Who was that quarterback?
You said 2017?
2017.
Ooh. No. Okay.
You're also not a Bengals fan, so you're not gonna
Because
this
it's too early for Deshaun Watson. It's too early.
no,
It would have
Ben,
been
he
right
never
when they got him.
but
I
this
I don't
trade, you don't know it. It's
wait,
AJ
no, no,
McCarron.
no.
It's AJ
That's not what
McCarron.
I was gonna say. I was
What were
gonna
you gonna
say
say?
Johnny Manziel, but that was
No.
because
Oh my God. If Johnny Manziel was ever on the Bengals, that would have been even worse. But AJ McCarron was slotted to be a Brown.
oh,
Browns didn't file the paperwork, and here we are.
of
So
course they didn't file the paperwork. That's
yeah,
such a them
the
thing to
facts,
do.
and here's the best part too: is the fax machine wasn't working. That's why in 2017 the fax machine was how they were sending the
Dang.
trade in, and it didn't work. So a lot of fun storylines in this too, and like you said, the Bengals have their season sandwiched between two Browns games. So assuming all goes well with Joe Flacco, he should be slotted against the play his former team to close everything out. So I mean, I don't know. I think it's important to realize that this is Joe Flacco. This is an old quarterback. This is a bad offensive line, but
Yeah. I
I
think that's
don't.
the main thing we need to walk away from is that
Yeah,
it is a bad offensive line. Like I talk about it all the time, and I think offensive line is the most important position in football. When they all work, they work. I mean, I use the Eagles all the time, but they work because that offensive line is good.
yeah,
Like the Colts this year, shout out to the Colts. Their offensive line has been fantastic. It is why Jonathan Taylor is having arguably his best season this year and why
yeah.
Daniel
He's really
Jones
good.
looks like an MVP quarterback. And we all know what Daniel Jones used to look like with a
Yeah,
bad O line at the New York Giants. I'm telling you, if this offensive line doesn't get it together, I do not care if Joe Flacco looks like vintage Joe Flacco of the 2010s or vintage Joe Burrow or even like Joe Montana or Dan Marino. If the offensive line sucks, there's nothing we can do about it. There's
no,
nothing we can do about it. So, if anything, if I'm the offensive line, I'm gearing up, getting, okay, we have a job to do now. Like maybe this vamps them up to be like, okay, we're actually doing something to try to win this year. Like maybe that's that extra push that some of those guys need to get their stuff together, like the Orlando Browns, like who has been on a bad
yeah,
tear for a couple of weeks. Like this might be something that they're using to get like jolt that locker and be like, come on, guys, wake up. Like, come on, we got something to do. We got games to win. Let's go. And that's what I'm hoping this is for that locker room because they desperately need it.
Bengals also released Brett Rippon in a subsequent move. I'm kind of just
Yeah.
scrolling through Twitter.
Did you see that Jermaine Pratt got released from the Raiders
I
too?
was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I read that this was an emergency everything move. I read that it was because he would like make fun of teammates and was very vocal and kind of a bad teammate, and that is the least
Yes.
surprising thing ever.
I was
Because
just about to say I
yeah,
wasn't surprised to see that either.
there's a very famous video, famous lack of a better term, of
Well known.
him. There's a well-known Bengals video. Have you seen this video of him screaming in the tunnel after Osai got in the AFC Championship game? Joseph Osai knocked Patrick Mahomes out of bounds, extra 15 yards. I don't want to talk about it because I'm going to cry. But Jermaine Pratt is walking into the locker room and is screaming bloody, like he's just screaming at
I think I've heard of
Joseph
it. I don't know if
Osai.
I've seen it, but I think I like understand what you're talking about. Like I know
So
the context.
yeah, so like that's something about Jermaine Pratt that's very notable. And I mean, there's a 0% chance he comes back to the Bengals. I mean, not that they
Mm-mm.
probably need
We
him,
burned
but
that bridge a long time ago.
no. I mean, last year it was burned in the middle of the season that he was done. But the Yeah, he got cut. I think that's interesting. I think it's so odd that the Bengals made an in-season trade for someone that's probably going to make an instant impact on this team. Like I remember last
Me
year,
too.
I was
I
pretty
like them.
stoked. I was very stoked for Khalil Herbert, and he was awful. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess the Bengals probably got better today. That's kind of what it comes down to. Not by
Yeah.
much, but they got better today. And
There are definitely
yeah,
teams are going to take more alarm playing against Joe Flacco than they would seeing Jake Browning.
it's just worth it. It was worth making the move. The Bengals don't lose anything. You see a 5th round pick, you
If
get a super
anything, they got
vet.
more.
Yeah, it turns out. I mean, here's the other thing too: is Bengals don't draft well past round one when it's hand fed to them. So I, it's like I'm not really worried about missing out on the 5th round pick.
No.
So it's like you see all this happening. I can't believe that they did this because it even kind of seemed on Sunday that Taylor was like
To the
still
media
inching
saying he loves
towards
Jake Browning,
exactly, and then he kind of just flipped on it. So
which I could see pressure from upper management going, if you don't fix something, we'll do the next best thing and fire you. And then kick Jake Browning out. Like
yeah,
it could have very easily been, if you don't agree to this, your job is gone. It
I,
very easily could have been that too.
I who knows what
Yeah.
I mean. I think it works. We'll see what happens. I'd love to
Yep.
talk on Sunday about uh, Joe Flacco beating the Green Bay Packers for the second time this
That'd be
season
great.
with
Hey,
the
he
Browns
knows how
and the
they work.
Bengals. Yeah,
Arguably.
I think the best part about this now too is for the Browns side of things, you don't really lose anything either,
Mm-mm.
and you honestly you pretty much tell Dylan Gabriel that you're going all in on him. I thought he looked pretty solid at times
Yeah,
in his
I
game
think
on
so too.
Sunday, and more importantly, Shitter Sanders is now the backup quarterback
Oh my
for
gosh.
the
So they
Cleveland
can all
Browns.
the Shador fans can shush for a little bit. Like, I'm tired of hearing them talk. Like, I have never heard a third string quarterback get talked about more. Like, I swear I have seen Shador Sanders in the media more than I have seen some of the actual starting NFL quarterbacks. I'm sick of it. Like,
Gosh,
as like an just a fan of the NFL, I'm like, yes, his dad is Deion Sanders. Yes, there was this huge debate on whether he was going to get drafted, which I think he got drafted exactly where he deserved to be drafted. He
mm-hmm.
played on a mediocre Colorado team, and like it for me, I was just like, I'm so tired of hearing about it. Like, I don't. He could be the next coming of whoever in the NFL, and until he proves that, I'm still going to say, okay, there's still a guy in the locker room that they believe in more than you. So you have your opportunity. If your name gets called, you get to step up, and we will all watch you. But until then, Dylan Gabriel is Cleveland's guy, and I agree with you. I think he looked good for first game standards as a rookie, especially one that I don't know if they were really expecting him to go in as quickly as he did.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I guess that about wraps up today's show. I mean, I honestly didn't really think we'd be talking on a Tuesday afternoon about Joe Flacco being on the Cincinnati Bengals,
Yeah, that wasn't
but
on my bingo card.
no, it was not on my bingo card either. I was really worried that we were going to actually have to do an emergency podcast about Brett Rippon starting on Sunday for the Bengals, which
Oh
which
my
might not
gosh.
have, which might I don't know if that would have required an emergency podcast and more of
Hey,
just hey, this is happening. We're
yeah,
punting on the season. But
yeah.
hey, it's happening. The Bengals did something.
They did something, and
That's
that will
probably the
take
best way
something
to
over
put it.
nothing.
They did something, man. A favorable AFC and a favorable uh, schedule, I guess, coming down the pipe. Which is weird because we're looking at Baltimore now as like one of
A
those
winnable
games where you're
game.
like, you can win this, which I don't believe still. I think they'll be fine, but who
We'll
knows?
see.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty. I said quick episode, 24 minutes talking about Joe Flacco, Bengals' biggest in-season trade since I don't know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
so we'll see what happens. Bengals and Packers on Sunday for the highly anticipated Joe Flacco Bengal debut. For Caroline Palmer, my name is Owen Timerton. We'll be back on Monday to recap. Hopefully, the Bengals win after
Yes.
this. Thanks for tuning in to Welcome to the Jungle. Have a good day, everyone. Who day?